Hi, everybody. Welcome back to episode 19 of my YouTube channel, which is dedicated to the development and construction of the Lake Erie North Shore Railroad. And this is a continuation of the last video where we started our major construction projects and dealing with the elevations and the curves and ripping track out and putting track down. Today, in this episode, we're going to finish off with painting the roadbed, laying the track down, overcoming that dastardly spot where the incline meets the level. Okay, and it's a engineering nightmare to deal with that if you've ever had to deal with it before. So we're going to give you some tips on doing that, and stick around to the end because you're going to have a chance to see if all this works. Okay? Huh? What's that? Oh, right. Let's listen to some Railroad Soul.
From the mountains across the prairies to the sea. Shared their lives, their hearts, and their pride. They had really soul. They had really soul. They had really soul.
Okay, welcome back. I worked up a sweat sanding all this roadbed. It's all sanded. Now I've got the paint on it. You can see it's still wet. I've left the little drainage ditch there in the middle of that one switch. You can see all the way back. Paint around the track a little bit just because that's all going to be scenery anyway. Just want to make sure that none of that plywood shows through. Now what I use on the first track bed coat is this Dulux suede. So it gives like a suede effect, like it's not smooth, it's a little bit rough. I don't know if you can see the thing on the top. You can see, it won't focus, but you can see it's a little rough. It's not, it doesn't dry smooth, and that's good because that's what I want on this roadbed. But you can see the speckles all gone away, and when this dries, you won't even see it. You won't know where it was. So there we go. Next, we gotta lay that track down, see if it all works. I'm a little nervous about the transition between the incline and the level. I don't know if you can see that over there. I tried to even it out, but I took the level and put it on it, and I think there's a little bit more there than I thought. So I hope there's not going to be any operational stuff happening there. I'll try some trains on it, and if there is, I'm not going to glue the track down right away. I'm going to run some trains first on it and see if it has a problem. If it does, then I'll have to come up with another solution, but I hope I've got it fixed. It's a tricky thing, and something that I don't know, I haven't seen too much about. Rob and Steve Bennett had something on their YouTube series about it way back in the beginning when they were building their benchwork. They basically took care of it then, and I don't have enough room to do what they did, so I don't know how else to deal with this. So we'll see how it goes. Hopefully there isn't going to be any derailments or any uncouplings happening at that point. If there is, well, we'll have to come up with another solution. That's why I love this hobby. Okay, we will talk to you when I start laying the track. Hi, quick update. This is the other side of the layout, which I forgot to show you. I've got this painted up too. You can see the paint's still wet, but you can see this looks a lot better than it did before. Got it all sanded nice and smooth. So I know there's a few gouges in there, but I think that gives it a bit more realistic look. When we put that ballast on there, you probably won't see it anyway, but anyway, I try to leave a few in. Okay, and then over here, I just put a piece of foam in right here, is because underneath that is this. And so this has a little exposed circuit board underneath, so I didn't want any sawdust or iron chippings or any weird stuff to fall in there. So I just put that piece of foam in there. And this is the nemesis right here. This is the place where evil may happen, but we'll see what happens. I tried to reduce it a bit. I scrubbed down that roadbed a lot underneath. At least I thought it was a lot, but we'll see what happens. Everybody sit with bated breath. Okay, talk to you soon. I've just set this track down in place. It's just really crudely pinned down because I want to run a few samples on this. So there you go. I haven't even hooked up the mining company tracks. The main line. I just want to test this just to see if we have clearance and make sure that the incline is okay. No derailments on the curve. I want to see what happens at my nemesis there, that joint. But before we run any trains, when I took the old track out, all of the jumpers that were supplying this power division, or power subdivision, were gone. So now there's no power in this track. So before we test it, I've got to drop at least one set of feeders down. So I thought I'd just do a video, let you know how I do the feeders, and give you maybe a different approach. Lots of people will put the feeder in, they'll drill a hole in the center and only have one hole and both wires go into the center of the tracks. I really feel uneasy putting things onto the inside of the track because that's where the flanges of the wheels ride. So what I try to do is to run the feeders very close on the outside, and when the ballast goes down, hopefully we won't see those. Okay, so what I'll do is I'm gonna drill a hole here, another one here, and you can see that I have a sub feeder. I'm just gonna go underneath. You can see I have a sub feeder there coming off the main bus. So this is secondary. This is a bus going to the power subdivision, or the power section for this area. So I'm going to just drop this through, and I'm going to hook up these wires to the appropriate sub feeder or sub bus. Now this is one of the tools that I use. This is an amazing tool. You got to get something like this if you're going to be doing a lot of wiring on your layout, because this will actually
it'll splice the outer covering of wire in a continuous wire, and it will also remove the ends so you can solder them in. Now this is the solder that I'm using. It is 0.71 millimeters. You got a 200 gram roll. I think it was like $10, something like that. And it's 60% tin and 40% lead, 2% flux. Now I'm using this soldering iron, which is a very good soldering iron. And then I'm using this as my cleaner station. So we take the tip of the soldering iron here. Let's get it so you can see it. And that has to be nice and clean when you start, and then you put a little bit of solder on it to tin it. But then I just clean it in here. Now this is just a, you can buy these fancy ones. I couldn't believe it. They were like $15 for this piece of steel wool. I just went to the grocery store and bought a pack of 3 for $2 or $2.50, something like that. So you just have to watch the kind of expenses. I'd rather spend my money on train stuff rather than stuff that I can get that will do the job. Okay, so I'm going to put that back in, let that heat up, and then I'm going to take you back to the track. We're going to drop these feeders, and hopefully it will work. I'm placing the phone, which I'm using for a camera, back into the holder, so you might be a bit erratic here for a second. Terribly erratic. Now I'm hoping I can get this set back up so that you can see the track that we're going to be working on, which is over here. Excellent. Okay, so let's get going. And okay, so this is the solder that I'm using. It's a 0.171 millimeter thickness. It's pretty thin. It's very nice, and it's 60% silver and 40% lead, which is also a good mixture. It does a really good job, and I got this pretty substantial 200 gram roll. It's really nice because it's not heavy like a big roll, but it's got enough solder on here to last for a while. So that's what I'm using for the solder, and let's shift over to getting these droppers in. So hopefully we can see. Now the first thing is, before you drill, you want to go under and check to make sure there's nothing under there that you're going to hit, and I've just done that. So now I'm going to take the drill, and I've just got a drill bit that's just a little bit bigger than the wire, and I'm going to bring this in nice and close. And then you want to make sure you clean that hole out pretty good. You don't want to struggle putting that wire through. Sometimes when you're working with foam, that foam closes in and it's hard to get the wire through. So now I'm going to string that the wire through. Now I just got to check. This is very important to make sure which which side is red and which side is black. So I'm just going to get this position right where I'm working here. Okay, so I made up this little chart. And this is what I use when I'm laying the wires. So I just set it on the track, and it shows you what side to put red and what side to put black. Okay, so you set that down. It's showing me that red is going to be on the outside rail. So go ahead and put that red wire in. Good. And before I get too far along, I'm going to show you how to use this machine here so you can see this. You just put the wire in, and for this one I'm just going to do a standard trim, just like that. Now you do have to dump this out, because sometimes the little piece of wire covering gets stuck in there and then it won't work. Okay, so we've got the red one down. Let's see if I can get this black one to go through. We have success. Yay! Okay, now again, so we just put the wire inside, snap that, knock out that little piece of wire that's remaining. Now what I usually do is roll these nice and tight, because this wire that I'm using is multi-stranded. So I wind those up. Now what I'm going to do is take the soldering iron, and I'm just going to touch the end of the soldering iron, and you'll see we get some solder on the end. Then I'm just going to tin these wires a little bit here. Okay, a little more solder. Tin this one a little bit. Now, if you get a little bit of a strand coming off the end, like the strands sort of separate out a little bit, it's okay, because I usually trim those up anyway. So take my little side cutters, and I'm just going to trim this a little bit, just because they are a little bit long. Now just make sure that none of those metal filings go onto your track. So clean that away. Now I'm using this for flex. It's called a no clean flex pen, and just from an Australian company here. And so it's just like a little magic marker type thing, and then you can flex the area that you want to flex, and it's quite accurate. Now sometimes what I will do, just to get it running, is I'll dip it in some liquid flux. So I'm just going to put some flux on both sides here. Okay, top back on, and then we're going to attempt to solder these wires to the track. So the first thing is, let's do this one down. Let's just put it back. Sometimes you just got to give yourself a bit of extra space. Get some solder on there. I give it a good tug. It's on there, so I just give it a good tug, just make sure it's connected. And we'll do the other side. Make sure these are rolled tight. Give it a good tug. Clean your iron. And I can pull these down. And you see, once you pull those down, it's really hard to see. I'm just using a little thing to push this down farther. Oh, pulled it right off. That tends to happen sometimes, but if that happens, that means that that joint wasn't good enough. Okay, good. So we'll redo. Okay, so those are now in place, and you can see the solder's on the outside of both the rails. I can't get this one any closer because of the fascia. But once we put the ballast down, you won't even see those. And the other thing you want to make sure is that the top part of the tracks are clean. There's no any solder that maybe got on the top part of the track. And then you're going to take a little bit of a sanding block and just lightly go over this just to make sure. So now we'll go down under and I'll hook the wires to the bus. So these are the, I'm down under the table now, and these are the droppers coming down, and this is where I'm going to take them. So the length of the wire is just about right. I will just clip a little bit off each end, just so that we don't have so much hanging down. I will now take the ends off these. You can see that really beats having to take a pair of pliers or a knife or something and try to take the ends off. Now with these, I don't have to cut these any shorter because I'm going to be just turn this a little bit so you can see. So I'm going to be taking these splicers, I'm just going to separate the wire. You see how I've just separated the wire out, and then I'm going to move down a bit. Sometimes that wire doesn't sit right where you want it. I'm going to offset these a bit so that they won't touch and short out, because I'm not going to cover these up or anything right now. I'm just gonna tape right on, or solder right onto those. So we take our flux and we just put some flux on those. Take our soldering gun, get some solder, just put a little bit on the end, and I think what happens is the flux, I'll do the black first, sucks the solder off onto the wire. Just like that. Give it a good tug, make sure it's on. A little more solder. the red one. Oh. Wouldn't you know, I cut the wire just a bit too short. That's okay. What I'll do is tell me you see the good, bad, and the ugly on this. I'll just do another one here. A little bit closer. Put some flux on there. See if we can get this one hooked. There we are. It's on there pretty good. Now just clean the iron. Back. And I just had a little bit of scroll here. I'm just going to clip that one wire off. And there we are. Both on well. Now we'll go up and see if we have power to the track. Okay, we're back. I've got all the track now glued down. You see I've got my little paint containers holding it down all the way around. I saved this little section here, and I thought I'd just take you through how I lay track or glue track down. It's nothing special, I don't think, from anyone else, but maybe the more different people you see do it, the more tips you have. I've pinned those turnouts in place. I don't glue my turnouts down just yet because I still have to drill the holes and prepare the turnouts for the tortoise machines. So I'll do that later. But what I do is I prepare the track at the very end. So let me just move this and show you. So at the very end of the series or of a turnout, I pull back a couple extra ties on the preceding piece of track. And that way I can slide the rail joiners all the way back, so I can pull that end of the switch out, and then just as I pull this end up, I can then pull the switch back and get it out from all these other pieces of track which are glued down. So that's a good tip. I can't remember who I learned that from, but very good tip. Just pull back a couple extra ties. I think it might have been the Pertel or Preterel. I don't know how to say his last name, but I'm gonna prepare one of the episodes is going to be just me going through all of the websites that I go to and I look at and that I have learned a heck of a lot from. So anyway, we'll put this back, and then let's lay some track. I'm just making sure that everything's set up right. Perfect. Okay, so this is the product I use. It's the same product that I was using to put up the masonite on the wall. So it's just a liquid nails, fast grip, and this is the gun that I use. And then show you how we go about laying this. Now, the most important things: don't get too much glue on, and make sure it's spread out nice and even, because if you get too much glue on, it'll come up between the rails, and if it comes up between the rails, then the ballast can't go down properly. Ask me how I know that. And wouldn't you know, just as I'm coming up to the last little bit, I'm running out of glue. But we'll see if we have enough to make this happen. So here's my flattening paddle here. There's just a little bit of pre-dried glue there, which I'll take off. So we're going to just run this nice and flat down here. Again, nice and flat. Make sure it's all spread out equally, but not so deep that you're going to have it come up between the rails. And after you've laid a bit of track, you will get to understand how deep that is. Okay, so now I'll take the first piece, just put it in. I'm just gonna eyeball that, make sure that it's going where it's supposed to. Excellent. And this piece, this one has a little bit of a curve in it, so I've got to get it into the mine. And normally I would have gloves on doing this, but because it was only a couple short tracks, I thought I'd try it without it. And of course, I've got glue all over my hands now. Always follow the rules. In. Little curve on this one too, just to get it into the house, to the mining company. A little bit straight. Remember that mining company thing is going to start right about here, so I want to try and keep these straight as possible. Just double checking the center to center, which is 2.5. Okay, that's dead on. That's dead on. And I'll just take some of these. Painting containers, and I'll just lay them along. Now some people will use Coke can or soda pop cans or whatever you have available. I like to use the plastic things just in case, who knows, somebody turns on the track power or something, then we get a big short happening. Okay, so that's it for laying the track. I'll come back when it's all dry and we'll try a train running again, see if the gluing things down has changed things, and hopefully it hasn't. So okay, the big test. This is the big run here. Let's see if it works. It's all been glued down, so let's see what happens.
Yeah, let's try the big test backwards. One more time, forward. See the sunset in the mountains. That is so satisfying to me. I'm so happy, very pleased with the outcome. Very cool. Shut her down. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. I'm happy man, happy man. All that work has paid off, and that is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 car train that's come up the incline and has not derailed. Very, very pleased indeed. Thank you for experiencing this moment with me. It's very, very satisfying. So I hope all of you can experience the same feeling that I'm feeling right now. You finally get a train to work that hasn't been working for a while. Thank you. Bye-bye.